Trump threatens to send the military to Baltimore to clean up crime. President Donald Trump on Sunday threatened to send the military into Baltimore to quickly clean up crime. But if Wes Moore needs help, like Gavin Newsom did in LA, I will send in the troops, which is being done in nearby DC. And quickly clean up the crime, Trump said in a post on Truth Social, referring to the Democratic governors of Maryland and California and using a derogatory nickname for Gavin Newsom. Trump's comments are the latest in a line of threats to replicate the DC deployment in cities across the country after hundreds of National Guard troops were brought to DC in what he's described as an effort to fight crime, though critics have painted the move as an overreach for political purposes. Reached for comment, Moore said in a statement that Trump would rather attack his country's largest cities from behind a desk than walk the streets with the people he represents. The president should join us in Baltimore because the blissful ignorance, tropes, and the 1980s scare tactics benefit no one, Moore continued. We need leaders who are there helping the people who are actually on the ground doing the work. Trump's push to deploy National Guard troops to cities like DC is a significant departure from how presidents typically deploy the Guard, which is usually used to respond to situations like natural disasters and civil unrest. The president first deployed thousands of National Guard troops and Marines to Los Angeles in June amid protests against immigration enforcement actions. Newsom vehemently opposed the move, accusing Trump of hoping for chaos so he can justify more crackdowns, more fear, more control. Trump deployed the National Guard to DC this month as part of a stated effort to fight crime, though at the time of his announcement, violent crime had decreased 26% compared to last year, according to DC police data. NBC News reported last week that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth signed an order authorizing about 2,000 National Guard troops in D.C. to carry weapons. Trump administration live updates. D.C. classes start as National Guard begin carrying firearms. As president, I would much prefer that he clean up this crime disaster before I go there for a walk, Trump added. Homicides in Baltimore have decreased by more than 24% this year compared to the same period last year. Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott said this month. His office has also said that non-fatal shootings have declined 18% this year. Moore said this month on CNN that Trump was using the military as a tool for political purposes. I take very seriously about how, when and why I deploy members of our National Guard in cases of emergency and in true crises, he said in the interview, and I will not authorize the usage of Maryland National Guard forces for missions that I do not deem to be either mission critical or mission aligned. The president on Sunday also threatened to pull federal funding for the replacement of the Francis Scott Key Bridge, which collapsed in 2024. The federal government had previously agreed to pay for the bridge's replacement. I gave Wes Moore a lot of money to fix his demolished bridge, Trump wrote. I will now have to rethink that decision. Moore slammed Trump's message, saying in a statement that any threats to this funding will cause irrevocable damage to the national economy and to the entire state of Maryland. We have already begun rebuilding, and now that Maryland is showing great progress, our president is threatening to intentionally harm Maryland, he continued. Senator Chris Van Hollen, DMD, slammed Trump's comments, saying the president's desire to play dictator with our military on American soil should be alarming to everyone, as should his unlawful threats to claw back federal funding that Congress explicitly approved. He added that we have made important strides in public safety, and though there's more we can do together. Trump's threats to invade our cities are not the answer. Senator Angela Alsobrooks, DMD, also responded to Trump's threats Sunday afternoon, saying that her focus and that of Team Maryland will be to continue their work for the state. Trump is now threatening to extend his drastic overreach by using the U.S. military against Americans. We are not interested in his distractions away from his disastrous policies that have cut health care, raised the cost of insurance, and the cost of living for all of us, Alsobrooks said in a statement. Separately, Representative Johnny Olszewski, DMD, said in a statement responding to Trump's post that Baltimore is making real progress, but sustaining our momentum requires collaboration at all levels of government. President Trump's threats to deploy troops to American cities and cancel funding approved by Congress are illegal, unhelpful and directly at odds to that progress, added Olszewski, who represents parts of Baltimore. In recent days, Trump has also threatened to deploy the National Guard to other cities. He praised the National Guard's work on Friday, going on to say, "I think Chicago will be our next, and then we'll help with New York." Illinois Gov. J.B. Pritzker hit back on Saturday, accusing Trump in a post to X of attempting to manufacture a crisis, politicize Americans who serve in uniform, and continue abusing his power to distract from the pain he's causing families.